We're getting this mother trucker out of here.
Couldn't get my pan hot enough, and I was like, this is doing my head in.
Screw it, Dad. Let it go.
Welcome back to another Stay Tuned podcast. Today we have Adrian Toft from Zone RV. He is the CEO, born and bred up in Bundaberg from a cane farm. Really cool dude. Interesting story he's going to share with us today. So stay tuned, and without further ado, Adrian. We'll get into the Zone RV thing and talk about that in a second. But where I want to start is how you got there and where you came from, and a bit of backstory into that, because I think that's the interesting part where people have got to today. Totally. So give us the insight, mate.
Yeah, so I might just start where I started, how I got into Zone. So to get into Zone, actually, I was a customer.
Right.
So I was having 6 months off. I'll talk a little bit where my career was before that. I was traveling and I ordered a new caravan. I picked up a Zone RV. I didn't have the best experience. I didn't think it was running to the best it could be as an organisation, and I just happened to ask the question. So I came back. I'm the sort of person that, if I go to a restaurant and I don't have a great experience, I don't usually tell everyone. I don't go and bag them out. I just don't go back. So basically...
It's so true. It's funny, definitely, like my wife is one that she'll just like, hey, this is not good enough. This needs to be good enough. I'm just like, nah, I just can't deal with it. So I'll just like, move on. Yeah. So
and I like quality. I like good things. And I chose to get into a Zone. I was always actually going to buy, and I'm happy to say that, a Kedron Caravan. I watched those guys for years, growing up in Queensland. So they were a bit of an iconic family. But when I went to purchase it, I actually couldn't tow it. I had a 79 dual cab, which I was going to extend, do all those things. But I ended up just, doing the normal GVM stuff. Went down to have a look at that product, realised I can't tow that. And actually the first time ever I looked at Zone RV, I didn't even know who they were. And so lightweight led me to Zone. So I turned up there, got my van, went through that whole experience, which in some ways was very painful. It was the old tick and flick, going through spreadsheets, going through customer service basically. There was just a lot of clunkiness about the whole situation. And I think that van was about 175,000.
So what year was that?
That was in 2019, March 2019.
Yeah.
So I was all excited, doing a purchase. But by the time I had bought the van, it took me about 4.5 hours to buy it, and to go through the process of ticking all the sheets. At the end of it, it sort of run out of the joy, even though it's such a big investment and you're looking forward to it. It just seemed to me very difficult to do that, which was frustrating. So if you bought cars and things like that, automotive's got this really good way of putting you through a pretty good process. I know, car salesman gets a bad rap, but generally the systems are pretty good,
for sure,
pretty clear.
Yeah.
I think other products I've bought weren't too hard to do that either. So when I picked up my van, I went away for the weekend to have my first experience in it. Unfortunately, the business had shut down for the weekend. I had issues. I couldn't contact anyone. It really wasn't a great experience. So it's funny how you can come into a business like that. So what happened was I just came back for a service, and I'd had a few issues, and basically I found even servicing wasn't great. The attitude of the people was, they were a bit frustrated. I don't think they were bad people or anything, but I think they were struggling with systems. And just a classic case of a startup business who'd come successful. No one ever really envisioned that sort of growth, I think, which they'd had. And I think it was really challenging for them and the team, and just happened to go and meet the right person that day. I suppose I didn't even really realise Dave Bigger was the owner, or one of the biggest owners. There's a few shareholders, and I just happened, he asked me, he said, "Oh, mate, you look a little, perplexed. What's going on?" I just said, "Oh, yeah, I bought your product, mate. Love what you've got here. Just think you guys, might be struggling a bit." And he was honest enough to say, this is a big beast we've grown here. This is really challenging. There's lots of things we could probably do better. And he just asked me, what am I doing? And I said, well, I'm just taking 6 months off traveling around. And 2 weeks later, I was sort of there helping out. He asked me to come in and do, basically, could you just have a look? And what I did at first was just come in as a bit of a consultant, just a video, video, what's good, what's bad, how could we help handovers. my background was I've been a community development worker, I've been a youth worker, I've worked in Indigenous youth, like at-risk kids and stuff like that. So I was really keen to just get in, have a look and see what's going on. And it didn't take long to work out, you know.
Where the problems lied.
Yeah, and again, I don't blame any of those people. I think there were some really good people there. I think you just, as you know yourself, Matt, just outgrew the systems really fast.
Yeah.
I think Zone at that stage probably had about 140, 150 people. They'd gone through a bit of the COVID phase too, where they had to lay off some probably good people and then got them back because they shut down for about 4 or 5 weeks. And then it, you know, opened up again. And then I think their order book, you know, started going again. You know, people started buying. Now, I think for Zone, it never just went absolutely ballistic because it's a higher end product, but it just kept slowly building. So I think they lost a few of their good people in that time. And then, it was a process of
I guess
catching them up.
We found we started with Just Autos back, say, 15 years ago, like everything was pen and paper.
Yeah.
I'm pretty illiterate when it comes to writing, and Chris, who's been with me still to this day, you know, would struggle to read my writing, and we had problems with, you know, parts coming in and out, not knowing what they were for. And it's all those little problems. And it's really funny is that growth is great, but it needs to be consistent and you need to be in control of it as you're growing.
100%.
And one of the biggest things, especially with COVID over, I think, Australia-wide, with caravanning in general, we've had this massive boom, and trying to keep the wheels on and make sure that you still pump out that quality and service is difficult. There is many 100%. Tasks with that. So I understand that would have been pretty challenging. So the Zone, so you said that you're a youth worker originally and you did some stuff there. So obviously you got people skills, and that's where a lot of obviously management comes into it.
Yeah, I can give you. So my background was, I'm probably one of those oddball kids that I went to school. I grew up in a really well-off family. My family owned some pretty big companies in Bundaberg. So my grandfather was the engineer and then the inventor of the mechanical cane harvester. So my whole family had grown up always with production lines, inventing things. So I grew up, my dad was the same. So then my dad ended up working for John Deere, lived in the US, head of like R&D in the agricultural industry with the sugar industry. So our name sort of in sugar is like a really renowned name. So I could go up and down the Queensland coast or into northern New South Wales and people will know who we are as a Toft. And that's good and bad because obviously it's a bit like Ford and Holden. So there used to be Massey Ferguson and Toft. So we were Tofts, obviously. The Massey Ferguson people were the opposition in some way, but I've always sort of been a little bit different. I hope I've tried to be as inclusive as I can. And growing up in a well-off family, you struggle to know and understand what everyone else is going through at times. So my passion was to bring people together. And I grew up on a farm, married the girl next door, so I was pretty lucky there. I left school, so I wrote to Education Queensland when I was 14 and said, you know, I don't think you guys can help me anymore. I've got things I've got to do. I want to get out of here. And I look back now, I think that's pretty crazy. But it was good for me because I'd sort of got to a point, I'd become a bit of a misfit at school. So I was a guy that was sitting in all the naughty classes. I was an at-risk kid, which I shouldn't have been. I never took a bag to school. I never opened my books. I just didn't care about school. What I cared about was doing other things. So I wanted to be a farmer. I wanted to be a contractor. I wanted to harvest 100,000 tonnes of cane, which in those days was a bit of a big feat, which now isn't that hard. So I just had these little visions that I wanted to do. So I suppose I've always been driven like that, but I've always been passionate. And I think that's how I got to Zone. I was a customer that was passionate enough that I wanted it to change. And I take my hat off to the owners of Zone because really they could have just went, see you later, mate. What are you on about?
Yeah, what do you know?
Yeah, what do you know?
100%, yeah, I've seen it.
So I do actually, and I say that to Dave, especially all the time, and the shareholders, that, you know, they could have just went, see you later. But, you know, history has proven that in 3 years, we've grown 60% every year since I've been there. And that's just not me. That's actually getting a good team. That's actually now we can afford to pay for a good team. And it's the system. So I'm like you, mate. My writing's horrendous. People wouldn't understand it. And I'm a T-Rex typer. But I'm passionate about digital. So our business now is completely digital. If you order a van, it's all automated. I could show you today. I can run my whole business off my phone, which has led me to now that I can travel Australia and still run the business and still see the business. Because that's the problem in business is that you pull out weeds where you should have planted trees, and like vice versa. And I think that's probably my best advice to anyone is, you know, I also look the other way now. Education gives you freedom. If I had have went and got an education, I'd have freedom to do whatever I like. I think because I'm a bit of back to the wall because you don't have all the degrees and stuff. Yeah. You know, it lessens that, but I've never let that stop me. And it obviously hasn't. It's led me to a good position. But during the younger years, I went off and I started my own business when I was 16. And I used to actually have to get driven to my workplace because I couldn't drive the machinery. So I started a contracting business with my to-be father-in-law. And it was quite funny. So here I am as a 16-year-old getting dropped off. They'd drive the machinery to me. I could drive the machinery legally on people's farms, but not on the roads. And I had to employ people that were double my age. So I look back and think, yeah, in some ways that was ridiculous. Yeah. But it taught me heaps about people, and it taught me how to treat people right. And I was always willing to listen to others. So I think mentoring's always been a big thing in my life. Someone's always mentored me, and I've always tried to look out for younger people. And I don't think, you know, you can be really wealthy, and my family were really well off. It doesn't exclude you from a lot of issues, you know.
Of course.
I'll be up front. I lost my dad in that year of 2019 to suicide. Yep. And it made me passionate because I'd always worked with at-risk kids who were doing that sort of thing. You never think that's going to happen to you. Yeah. But what I will say is that's why I think what we're doing today is important. Blokes talking to each other. Yep. Hopefully we're talking to other blokes out there and women. Yep. But I think particularly blokes, you know, today is a lot of pressure in life. I'm really passionate about, you know, how do we communicate better? How do we educate better and support each other better?
Yeah. And I guess that's a hard thing, but it's really interesting to see where you've come from, and obviously you talk about your background. You've got obviously so much passion for people and talking that. So the guys getting you leading into Zone RV, I think it's great that, you know, they have the time to listen to the people and say, hey, because I think that's one of the biggest keys with anything is that if you don't, you should listen to everyone. Everyone has something to say, you know, and good or bad, you can always take from it. So the fact that these guys got you in to really steer the ship must have been pretty overwhelming for you. Like, I mean, how did that make you feel? Like you've obviously had a rough year with your old man passing, and then, you know, to come into the shop and be like, righto, cool. You know, did you know, come into it with a sense of the fact that hey, I wanted to change things around and make things more like yourself, or, you know, where was all that?
I think any good organisation, you'll always find a good leader, and then you'll also have to have a very clear vision. And if you don't have vision, the old saying is people perish, people die. So the vision had to be really clear of, you know, my theory was we can't stay where we are. If we stay where we are, we die. Basically, we're in a bad situation. We need to change. Our customers need a better experience. We as an organisation weren't the greatest at that stage, I would say. Building, manufacturing, designing and everything, it's all there, and it was all to a pretty good level, to be honest. Our branding was really good, but I think we were struggling with getting the right people in the right seats of the bus. And I suppose because of what happened with my dad, I actually came down. I moved away from my kids and my wife, which was really hard at the time because we were going to travel. But I spent 6 months in my caravan living down here where they all lived. My family was living out west, so all of my kids live in a small regional community called St. George, southwest Queensland. Yep. And that's where I'd done some youth work. And so they had fallen in love with a community. And you'll hear me talk a lot about that today. And community's where it's at for me. Like, no one survives on your own. So I think what happened at Zone, I started to build the community.
Yeah, cool.
And so I looked around to find who was sort of like the mentors, who were the people that were probably struggling, who were the people didn't want to be there. Yeah. And it was hard for me because I'm usually building a community, and in some ways we had to tear some of that community down.
Sort it all out.
I think having what had happened to me and realising that life's fragile, so I really just went, no, I'm just going to lock in here, give myself a bit of a 3-year vision that I believe we can move it from here to here, which is what we've done. And we sort of did that first vision that I thought would take 3 years in about 8 months.
That's a big feat because, like, 2019 is a huge year for you.
It's crazy.
Right? And then you're, like, moving away from your family also to add that in, then to take over a business that you really know nothing about.
Nah.
To roll in, to take on those, that control. That's a massive thing to do,
and
I think.
I would tell anyone, I came there and I just volunteered really at first for the first couple of months.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid a fortune. To me, money's not that important.
Yes.
I've grown up with money. I can tell you it doesn't make the best of life. Like, it's good. Don't get me wrong. It makes life easier. Definitely doesn't make you happy, and society shows us that. So for me, I used to drive home nearly every weekend to St. George. So people won't that's a 600k drive every weekend. But I made sure I did that for my kids and my wife and myself, because it keeps you sane.
Yeah.
But it was just really good to come down. I could see that people needed this change. The organisation did as well. So I suppose I took on pretty quickly.
So I guess that fueled for what you're earning as well was the fact that you can build this up and make it, it's like your own and fix the problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you feel like, I'm one of those people, and anyone who listens to this podcast will tell you, I've got a few good sayings, and one of them is, if you don't move, you die, and I don't water dead plants.
Yeah.
So there's no point pouring a heap of energy into stuff and it's not growing. So I'm pretty quickly, and I'll be the person who says, I'm going to miss you guys. Like, thanks for everything, but this just isn't working. So if things don't change, I'm probably not the person that's going to hang around for 5 years to make it change.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty clear with a vision. I'm pretty clear with, let's keep moving. And I don't care if you're just crawling, but just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And definitely, mate, we have crawled at times. There's been times where I've just thought, I actually don't need this. Why am I doing this? You would get it a bit as well.
Yeah.
Social media,
Yeah.
People want to drag you down. You're an asshole, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I can actually handle that. It doesn't really bother me because I've learnt a lot of that working with at-risk kids and resilience. Can you imagine? I used to take Indigenous kids out into the bush, the craziest of the crazies, whether they were Indigenous or white kids, take them out. They'd let them loose with me for I'd take them on a 3-day hike or a 3-day canoe trip or, whatever it was. And, those kids would sometimes, I'm going to kill you tonight. I'm going to get you when you're asleep, dude. And I'd always go to bed just going, well, mate, bring it on. Yep. Whatever needs to happen, dude.
Yeah, it'll be what it'll be.
They would be, you can't touch me. And I'd always go, well, I can. I'm just making my mind up whether it's worthwhile, mate. So they didn't quite know me and I didn't quite know them. But what was good about it, being an all-white guy that never really had to do it too hard, was it made me realise what other people go through. And when you dig into kids, especially in their stories, and you realise their parents might have passed away, someone's done something bad to them, it just makes you realise the fact that they even turned up today. I used to just about cry. I'd go, mate, I can't believe you keep coming to this course. And I'd go, why do you come? And he goes, because you're the first person, he might have said, you care. Yep. And kids would cry, and that would break me because I'm thinking, mate, I've got kids.
Yep.
So it's really, it's awesome. It's great, but it's tough. And I'll tell you, I did 2 years of it at first and I burnt out.
Yeah.
So I did 2 years of at-risk work in regional Queensland and it broke me.
Yeah.
And it took me 2 years to come back.
Because I'm guessing there's a lot of bad stuff as well that goes through. That's not all good, and it'd be hard grinding away and can't solve all the problems. And
you don't know what you're getting into. So, like I said, I thought I'd go out there, be playing tennis, cricket, having fun with kids, doing a bit of handball, playing games. Next thing, we're dealing with rape, abuse, all sorts of horrendous things. Obviously, the way society treats certain people. If someone was coming out as gay or whatever it was, some teenage kids having a baby, imagine living in a small regional community and you're a little bit different to everyone else. So it really taught me some hard lessons, and I was getting dragged to court to testify for kids. And I actually had a couple of kids who took their lives and stuff like that, or got murdered and things like that. So it sounds like a lot, and I know it does.
It is a lot.
And I'm not dehumanising any, but it really made me as a human sit down, and it broke me down. But it made me then go, well, the only way you can help these people is actually be consistent yourself. Yeah. And that's sort of what I found in the end, is just being there for people, turning up every day, even when you don't want to, going on these camps and thinking, why am I here with these crazies? What are we actually achieving? And kids that do the craziest stuff all the time. But in the end, I saw a couple of kids transform their lives. And it wasn't because of me, but a group of people. And
Yeah.
I got John Deere, I got the Cotton Growers Association, I got the local community to support those kids. So it ended up, the local dealer, he used to put $10,000 a year just into kids programs, the cotton growers, because they would go, well, these guys are knocking our places off. So at first it was really hard to get people to invest, but after a while they could see you're making a difference in their lives. And I'll tell you, as a rich kid, it was nothing better than me driving along, pulling into fuel up, and a guy behind you says, keep driving, mate, I've paid all your fuel. I love what you do in our community. Or drop beers off or drop meat off. I used to do that for other people. When someone does it for you, it was pretty cool, Matt. Like, that was transformational for me. And that job I did out there, I used to get paid $36,000 a year.
Yeah.
So it was hard. I lived in a community where I was surrounded by lots of interesting, let's put it, people, drug dealers, you name it. I never got ripped off. People thought I was in cahoots with the local community. I wasn't. It was just because I was well known. I worked with the police. I worked with, all those doctors and everything. But they knew basically you wanted to help people. And that made all the difference.
I can really see how what you did out there and how you're at Zone now. It's very similar.
Yeah.
Like, it's just it's
building a community.
100%. It's definitely, I see how that works. That's cool.
And it's not hard. It is hard, but it's worth it. And it's not easy. And there were definitely people that, had to leave our community. And I didn't take that lightly because it's someone's job, it's someone's mortgage.
Of course.
It's someone's livelihood. So, yeah, they were the toughest years. We haven't had that for a while. But I look back now and it's sort of, even for me, I go, holy crap, there's a lot happened in 3 years.
So tell me now, you're at Zone. Are your family still at St. George?
No. So all my kids are. So it's pretty weird for us. So we became empty nesters at 47. I'm 50 this year.
Yep.
So my kids didn't want to follow us, which was fine. My young fella's pretty entrepreneurial. He runs a cotton picker and he works on a pretty big farm, and he's really got that farming gene. So he's really keen to, he owns one of our vans, no discount. Like, he'd be the youngest zone owner in Australia.
Yep.
But he just wanted to have his own thing. He wanted to be independent. And I said, well, mate, if you don't want to buy a house at the moment, buy a van. They're pretty good they don't lose too much.
Yeah.
Which is what he did. Took a loan out. He's paying it off. He'll pay it off next year.
Yep.
He drives a $1.8 million piece of machinery.
Yeah.
He's a hard worker. His boss, he's made a few mistakes in his life, but his boss has been someone, he's been a mentor to me, and then he mentors Callum. So that community is actually raising my kids at the really important age, and they're doing a great job of it. And I think that's why my kids live in that community, because they love community, which is awesome, which is really hard to find on the coast.
Oh, for sure.
So,
without a doubt, I think coast is definitely, we don't have that.
No.
It's, very disconnected from those sorts of things. But
you can find it, Metro as well.
Yeah, okay.
I've had it both.
So we're back at being at Zone now. I'd love to know your challenges that you've faced with Zone, because obviously you've had massive challenges out in the bush, and there's a lot going on there. And coming into a big company like this, the challenges. What was the biggest challenge for you coming into Zone?
Yeah, I think data was king. It's really hard to grade someone, promote someone, encourage someone if you actually can't see really what they're doing.
Did you get sort of pushback from much of the other guys? Like, here's you coming in going, hey, this is wrong, you need to do this is this, and they're going like, hey, are we doing the right thing here? Like, how did you get them to trust your ideas? And I guess that comes over time. Like you said, you spent, the first 6 months filming and so forth. So I'm guessing that was you collecting your data to come back to them and say, hey, these are the problems here.
Yeah, I think and that's why I sort of say to people, it's pretty hard to coach people to become a leader. I think some people are genuinely got leadership qualities. Some people definitely grow into leadership.
Yep.
I can't really name it, but I just sort of know, and probably because I went back to my younger story, I never really went there thinking no one would follow. I just went there going, well, we're going to do this, and this is the vision. I had it up like a screen here, and this is where we're going to go. Collectively, we went around and talked to everyone, but my attitude is, if you actually knew how to get there, you don't need to ask me. We'd already be there. So when I sort of go to organisations and they're not there, that says to me, we need to get someone who knows that.
Of
and
course.
the best leaders go and find better people than themselves, which is what I've tried to do. And I'll just be 100% up front. It's really cool for me because I'm transferring now across to CBO. So I'm becoming Chief Brand Officer because I actually don't really want to be just trapped at Zone in the inner sanctum that I can never leave the sanctuary. I want to be out with the product. I want to be out in the community. I want to develop the Zone community.
Yeah.
So I've just given myself that opportunity to travel Australia in one of our vans with some of your product, with some of JMAC's product, because I want to live. And then you actually have, and I've already done some of that, trust me, but it's such a better experience because I'm out there actually living it, breathing it, going to those communities, traveling. I'm not talking from someone who thinks they know. I'm actually doing it. And I think why people followed me, because I actually handed over 180K. I actually went through the process of buying the van. I actually went through the process
so
of
you know
what
it
it was
all.
like.
You are
I know it all. I was
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah.
So I speak with authority of doing that. I came out of manufacturing. I know what it's like to, I came from John Deere. I know what good looks like. I know what crap looks like. And I'll say that to anyone. We were pretty good, but we were nowhere near excellent. And we had some really good systems. I think it's just like any business, you know, John Deere, you know, you're looking at something that's completely, you know, I would say Harvard and we were Sunshine Coast High. You know, it's very hard because we don't have the same budget. So I take my hat off to all the predecessors that came before me. With what they did, with what they had, is nothing short of exceptional.
Yeah.
It's incredible, to be honest. And for Zone RV for 10 years now to be over $100 million company, unbelievable.
Yeah.
We employed 265 people. I think when I got there, we had 130. We're financially well, like we're sound. We've got really good investment. We've developed. We've got some of the latest technologies. We've got 8 engineers. We're into 3D printing. We've got the largest 3D printer.
That's crazy. I looked at that, and I mean, we 3D print modeling stuff probably on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I always imagine when it stuffs up because our stuff's up all the time. So I imagine, do you ever have problems with the 3D printing side of things?
No, we're above that. No, of course we do. You know, like anyone, we're early adopters, so that's actually the hardest thing to do. What I love, I'm one of those people, another one of my sayings, we're not afraid to get out of the boat. Yeah. So a lot of people want to stay in boats and don't get out. And that can be scary, but I'm happy to step off the cliff and let's go and have a crack.
Yeah.
I won't take everyone off the boat, but I think there's times, and I'd give that credit to Dave too, Dave Bigger, our chief owner. Like Dave, he's willing to take risks. And look what he did with me.
Yep.
So I think that's where credit's due.
Yeah,
You've got to be prepared to do that. And they're disruptors. Like Zone's doing something no one else is doing. And we don't really look in our industry. I've always been passionate. Like if you look at our website, I found that with Tesla. I can go buy a Tesla within an hour. Now you can buy one of our vans within an hour. That's because when I went to buy mine, it was so bloody frustrating. It took so long to do it, tick, flick, checks. And so I've just flown in from Melbourne, 2-day show. We sold probably $4 or $5 million worth of product. You could never do that before. Plus, it's built all the MOs. It's done everything. It's sent everyone their, deposits. It's done receipts. Everything's done. It's all automated.
Yeah.
But that came out of one of my good mates that was sitting on the sidelines for a while. That I said, "Could you come and help us, mate?" He's now actually sitting in the CEO's position.
Yeah, cool.
So I brought him as our digital officer, and then while he was there for the last 7 months, I ended up saying, "Mate, actually, I think you suit this role better than me." And as a leader, that's where I think you've got to be smart too.
Yeah, 100%.
I could just stay in that seat forever and just keep putting everyone around me. But I chose differently to go, if I really want Zone to hit 200 million, which is what I want it to do, well, then I need to step over here because where I'm going to be the best for Zone is branding, front of house, out there delivering those things, building the community.
I guess, most people that probably don't know you guys are based in Coolum, but if you've ever driven past your complex, it's pretty amazing. Like it's in a new area that's industrial and it's a big building. Is that building capable of doing those numbers? Is that something you're going to have to expand to?
So we're probably quiet with a lot. So one thing I do love about Zone, we're not arrogant. I think we've got our feet on the ground. We're not the most amazing, special, unique humans, but I think we do house a lot of that. So we've got 4 facilities already built. We built facilities during COVID. So where maybe other people were doing other things, that's where we did go and buy the biggest 3D printer. we got 2 key people to run that device. One of them, had been in New Zealand. The other guy is a bit of a brainiac, mad scientist.
Yeah.
I'll give a call out to Tyler and Piney. Dave's one of those people as well in that part of the business. So Dave's loving the fact that now he can play with composites. That's really the heart of what he does. Probably like you with tuning, is him with composites. And composites is black magic. No, it's like, the 11 herb and spice, like
trying to work it out.
Trying to work it out. But those guys just froth on that stuff, and they're there every day, every week, every weekend playing with composites. I'm not a composite passionate person. I love manufacturing. I love what we do. I love forward driving and camping. Those guys just love helping to build that adventure. And I think they see themselves as everyone's a piece of the pie to get people to that. Because we see ourselves as an adventure company. We're not actually manufacturers.
Well, composite's just an amazing material. It's really funny you talk about it, is that, years ago, everything, or even to this day, still a lot of vans are still, wood frame.
Yeah.
And I did some, where I first had Just Autos, we were in a shed where they did caravans repairs, and it was called Regals.
Okay. Yeah,
and
nice.
Interesting that, vans were all good, but they had a lot of different other brands of vans come through for repairs and so forth. And the amount of water leaks and continual water leaks that you'd see on it, and wood rotting down walls and all that sort of stuff. So to go into like a composite, it makes, total sense, because not only is it stronger, it's lighter weight. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. So longer, stronger.
And the bonding them, is that bonded together? Like obviously it would be, is it silicone or glued together, the pieces on the roof and the side?
And it's again the same sort of thing, like to find the best product, be a little bit like your world, I'd imagine. Everyone can probably tune and things, but there's just certain things that we do there, and I think it's the way. And I always come from a different in our style of manufacturing. We see ourselves as the creator. Mm-hmm. We listen to community, we listen to customer feedback,
100%.
But we're actually the creators. So we don't if you go and look on our web or anything, the site, you can't change a zone. You can't make it how you want. And we particularly do that because we feel like we know best of actually if you change that structurally, you're going to have problems. It's sort of like cars and that. If you go too far outside of parameters, you end up with issues. That's why I love your product, because I know you guys work within the same sort of safety things we do.
Yeah, one of the things, we have systems that we've got channels where we get all the feedback comes through in a positive or a negative way, and that gets, split up to whatever it is.
Yep.
And we're doing customer callbacks 2 weeks after the car's been delivered, so we can see their experience and what's gone on there. And it's really funny. There's a lot of positive in there, but I don't tend to read the positive. I really don't, because I know where the product's at.
Yeah.
But the negative ones is what I focus all my headspace on. And it probably, a lot of the time, it puts us down rabbit holes, but those, what I believe is the most important ones, because it's how you improve and it's how you learn. And it's really interesting how, for us, if I'm jumping in a car and I find I like it, they might not. And I want to know why. And that's the sort of thing that I think is really interesting. So, yeah, customer feedback, 100%. It definitely does change the direction of the way you go with a lot of things.
Yeah, and again, I'll go back to digital platforms. So we collect all that data, so I don't have to go searching. I could show you after this exactly what everyone's saying. I'm probably a little bit different, a bit like radio announcers. Unless you get 30% crazies, there's no point listening to it.
Yep.
So we definitely catch up with people. We have an opportunity where our people, if you buy a van off us, you go up to a little property just up, they're called Hangaroo. It's up in the Gympie region, 160 acres, really nice. You buy our product, you actually have to stay there for 2 nights.
Oh, so it's like a test.
Yeah, you have to go. Cool. Yeah, and that came from me because I had a bad experience. So I was like, well, I'm going to damn well change this now. I'm in this position. So you go up there, and I would say that is industry leading.
100%.
You go there, you have 2 days, you can have masseuse, you can do whatever you like. There's a bar there. There's like people there every night camping from zone. They'll look after you, teach you, and all that stuff. But look, we get people who might have, we do things differently. Like I went to Big Red Bash, I've been 3 or 4 times. First time I went out there, I took a toilet system where cassette thing, horrendous. You're out there with 10,000 people. So I came back and just said, blanket rule, guys, we do not sell another van unless it's got a composting toilet.
Yeah.
Now, if I'd have listened to customer feedback, I would have got smashed because everyone who never had one told me they were crap, you know. Now we've never sold one without one for the last 2 years.
Yep.
Everyone else is slowly changing over. So I don't know. I'm not arrogant, but I think
that's
I'm just
real world
different.
experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're like, hey, this is the future, and it can be done better, can be done right, and that's.
And I'm always out there looking for stuff that's a couple of years ahead. I'll try and go to the manufacturer. I'll try and go to look at other places and see, because I'm an end user, so I'm gonna be out there testing it. And if we put it in our vans, nothing that's gone in that van I haven't used, or my wife or us as a group beforehand. So I think we are very different to any other manufacturer. We're end users. And so when we stand behind it and go, this is what we think's best, that's actually because we use it. That's why we're going to use your products. That's why we like J-Max, because we know premium with premium is one of my sayings. Like, you know, if we're going to be Zone RV and we're a premium caravan, I don't really want someone out buying $5 chairs and sitting beside it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, there's a better way. Because what happens is people go out and have these experiences, and they're out there, say, and they've got this car that, you know, they've been down the Johnny on the spot and bought a $5 tunic kit. He's up Cape York and it plays up, because I've been that person. I had an auto electrical guy once work on my car, and he put like a $5 one of those heat up fuses that when they get hot, they, you know. Yeah,
your circuit breaker. Yep.
So I was within 10 Ks of Cape Melville, where I wanted to camp at Bathurst Bay. Couldn't get there. Car just drove all the way back home thinking it was a $5 thing. So I won't let anyone touch my stuff unless you're qualified and I know you're reputable and you'll use. So that's why we have Red Arc and everything.
Yeah, I think wiring is definitely one of the key things to get right. If one of the things I've seen, and believe it or not, you know, we've had fires over the years of certain cars and dynos, because that's the stuff where we're creating a lot of heat and with minimal airflow. And, you know, we've probably seen a dozen or so cars over those, 15 years catch on fire.
Yeah.
Luckily, none have burnt to the ground. They've all been contained. But I would say a large portion of them are electric problems where guys have run cables over exhaust brackets, or, you've got cabling that's rubbering through. And it's one of those things nowadays with the guys fitting so much lithium batteries and there's so many electrical systems going on. I'm a big believer in trying to keep it as simple as possible. I hate clutter and I hate heaps of wiring. I'm really like, hey, it needs to be contained. And I see even with the vans, I was watching, so like I look at a lot of other manufacturers, and if you look at, say, Riviera with their big boats, I love their manufacturing process. And it's very neat. And that straight away when I seen your vans, it reminded me like that.
Yeah, and we follow people like that as well, because that's the ethos we have. And so one of the main reasons we use Red Arc was, one, I wanted Australian made. Two, I know myself, personal use, they make the best, I think, in automotive. It's very small, compact, but it's really well resourced. Well, if you've got an issue, they'll send you out a new product.
Yeah, I think that's really important as well.
Customer service is excellent. And I don't know if you've ever been in their facility.
No, never.
Go and do it in your lifetime. So when I wanted to make Zone better, that was one of the companies I went and had a look at. If you look at their logistics, you look at their digital platform, if you look at their leadership, the structure they have, unbelievable.
Yeah,
like Anthony and the team, Anthony Kittle, one of Australia's probably premium leaders. He's very approachable, great guy, runs a great business. Go and have a look at his honour board. You'll see all the people that have been there 10 to 25 years. So he doesn't turn people over, and he reinvests in the product. He's an engineered, focused group, but he loves community as well. So he's someone we went and had a look at and went, we want to copy some of that because of what they're doing. So they're in Adelaide.
Okay, yeah.
So South Australia. I think they're probably hitting that $300 to $400 million company.
Yeah.
Great organisation and a great Aussie story.
And they would be, I mean, if you look at them, there's other companies on the market, obviously, that do things, but definitely Red Arc would be, I think everyone would know what Red Arc would be.
Yeah, and I think the beauty
especially if you're caravanning.
You said it earlier, simplicity. And so there's heaps of other people, like, trust me, we tried 3 years ago, 48 volts. We tried, that stuff will come. But right now we can be upfront and say that wasn't successful. We tried all that. We've been running that stuff. I think our first one was about 2019, 2020. I wouldn't go into large scale with that stuff right now. It will definitely come.
Yep.
But the other thing is we use the products, right? And we're camping. So I see all these people having massive systems. But if you go out and camp for 4 days, I don't care where I've just come back from Victoria. I only saw the sun for like 20 minutes, which helped me a lot because I'm always red. But it was incredible that you still sometimes will get down to the point you need a generator or you need a way of charging things off your car. So we're trying to be realistic and true to our core. We actually still want you to go camping.
Yeah.
It is probably the one, best one room apartment you can take anywhere. But ultimately, I want you to go and camp. And going back to my dad's story, even for yourself, just hearing what you just said then, the best thing you can do is unplug, unwind, and go and do it with nature. That's actually how I tend to, and get back to, okay, well, actually life's okay, I think that's just so important. And for me, that's been a sustainable, good thing for me. And the van for me became very important. Like after that situation happened to us, it's just your own little sanctuary. And during COVID, that was brilliant. I could go anywhere, I had my own toilet shower, didn't have to worry people, but I could move around still. So I love the fact that even sometimes in a van, if life's a bit ugly and the situation's great, it's pretty cool in a van where you can go, oh, well, I might go out to Ipswich. I might go out to...
And just move out.
Yeah. And, mate, I talk to heaps of our zone community, and there'll be people every week that are doing it tough. Now, I've had people ring me from Nigaloo Reef. Oh, we're very depressed this week. The weather's shite. And I have to go, hey, guys, you're at Nigaloo. Just have a think of all the people that are just trapped behind a desk or a bloody welder or in a spray shop or tuning cars at the coast. They would die to be where you are today. And it just,
put things in perspective.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter where you are sometimes. It's just mentally how we can be as humans.
Oh, for sure.
That's what I keep coming back to, a community. Sitting around a fire. I learnt that from working with Indigenous youth, I love fires because you can enter anywhere. It's a round circle. People can come in, they'll talk.
Yep.
Young Indigenous fellas struggle to look you in the eye and stuff, so they'll talk around a fire because we can all look at the fire and they'll tell you how they're really feeling or what they don't like about you or what they don't like in society. And I've tried my best to listen to most people and not be arrogant, take it in, but I can't change everything. And
of course.
So I spent a bit of time in Dormitory. So one of the things I'm doing on this trip this year, so I'm going to go back to Dormitory and have a look.
So tell me, when's your trip? When are you leaving? And also, what van are you taking?
Yeah. So next week, basically.
Yep.
I'm waiting, as you know, so I'll say that on here, but we're getting a Chop 300 series. I'll just start the trip with my 300.
Yep.
You guys will do that package. We're working with J-Max and yourselves to really create I just seen there before. All my kids have got Toyotas. I've got 3 kids.
Yep.
All of us run Toyotas because of that reliability. So I didn't want to go away from a Toyota. At work, we've had a Ram and a couple of Toyotas. We found still our Toyotas are still the best sort of vehicle for us. So what we're going to do is work with yourselves, J-Max and that, have that chop. So we'll take that. We're going to do Savannah Way. We're actually doing a lap.
Yeah.
And hopefully...
Have you done a lap before? Or?
Not the whole lap, no. Yep. So I've never been into WA. I've been to every other state except WA.
Oh, yeah. I originally grew up in WA.
Nice. So I can't wait. I see everyone. Yeah. I love driving and I love touring and I love camping. So
yeah, WA is like another part of the world. It's so funny. You've got the East Coast and then it's just so far away.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of land. So
and I'm taking one of our Sojourns, so 21-foot vans, and those names are really nothing. They just Sojourn means someone who's just going on meandering, basically wandering. That's what we're going to do. And we have a 19-foot. So we only build 3 products. When I first went to Zone, we used to have 17. So we listened to everyone.
Yep.
And now we build 3.
Yep.
And we've been more successful. We've sold more vans ever by coming back to just 3 products.
I guess that's the reason why we went Toyota only, is that when I was younger, I was trying to do everything and I realised that as much as I wanted to do everything 100%, I just couldn't. I didn't have enough bandwidth to do that. No. So I find that doing Toyota, I can do that 110%.
Yep.
And I love it because I know the product. And I can really dive into that one product, and it makes you feel a lot more confident, and you know what you've got in front of you. So absolutely. I can see how going into 3 vans would definitely be a benefit.
Yeah, and we looked at, obviously, again, once we had facts and data, the data showed that less than 2 to 5% was any of those other vans. We used to do, I think, 144 different kitchen modules. And all this
mate,
was
that would
have
been
charts.
Crazy.
That's and imagine trying to go from analog to digital and transfer data. Those guys were out the back, didn't want to come back. So we did as must analog as we could. So we just culled all those. But that's really hard to do because obviously your team doesn't believe at first that, what's nice now, look back 3 years ago, no one really believed that we could just sell 3 vans and be successful.
Yeah.
I don't think, other than maybe myself, thought genuinely that would happen, but people will go with you. So it's sort of like, as you can say sometimes, it feels like everyone's following. Well, I wouldn't say everyone's following, everyone's listening, and let's just see what happens.
I think what I love about it is that you're asking your customers to trust you guys in what you know with your knowledge, saying, hey, we know that these 3 vans and the way that we lay them out is going to be good for you guys because we've experienced it, and that's what it comes down to.
I challenge anyone, go to McDonald's, whether you like them or not, ask them for 5 different orders with 5 different scenarios instead of their standard burgers. Tell me if you get it every time. Never happens, because my kids have worked at places like that. I don't want onion, we don't want pickles. They always put it on there. It's just hard to change systems.
Yeah.
So when you actually do a consistent system, and if I took you to Red Arc tomorrow, that's what they do. They don't just go, and we used to. Someone wanted a window over here, let's put it there. Oops, we forgot that was that other customer's, and now we've cut your window out. So this stuff was happening all the time. So I felt like we let down more people.
Yes.
Whereas today, it's really consistent. And your staff know what they're doing. They feel more secure, safer, SOPs are better, you got visuals.
Yeah.
It's a big difference, but it took a lot to change it. Like, I'm just rattling it off in this last hour that it's simple, but that's not simple to change. And methodologies are hard, culture's hard. Generally, it's 7 years to change a culture. We've probably done it a little quicker, but some of that's been bringing in the new culture from outside. So that helps as well. But
so your van, you picked it, designed it, went, hey, this is what I want, and it's one. I'm guessing that's one of the 3 that are off the mill.
Correct. Yeah,
and so it's really cool because you're like, hey, I'm picking the van. I'm going to be traveling.
Yeah.
And so you're leaving next week in the 300.
Yep.
And start cruising around.
So we'll start cruising around. I've also got a 300 GR with us as well, towing one of our expedition series. So it's our hybrid, and I've got a 21-foot full-size caravan. And basically, we'll put a video. So we already always put a video out every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So we force ourselves to do that because we feel like that's how you educate the best. And some of those videos, 70, 80,000 views. And it's funny because it's just me. I'm rough as guts. As visual, I'm great for radio. But I think people love our videos because it's the creators are actually just telling you. It's like, I always loved a Steve Jobs or that from iPhone. The guy who's, got the vision, he's up there telling the story. So it's not pushing other people out to tell your story. And like, I'll go back to my grandfather, say nobody really in those days when they were cutting cane by hand said, geez, I wish someone would make a cane harvester. It actually takes someone eventually to go, it's sort of like anyone who's changed the world, everyone was okay with people getting beaten up or taking people from other countries. Someone had to stand up and go. So that's why I believe in leadership.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will just sit around and go, it's okay getting flogged by the Egyptians. It took a Moses or someone to go, hey, let's get off our asses. I think it could be better over there. And I'm one of those people, like, we can't stay here. We have to go there. And I feel like we're in such a better position today. Now we have mass integration in our business of all cultures, all different people. There's heaps of males and females in our organisation. We're very open and adaptive, but we're really quick to move if we have to. And you have to be, I think, in any industry.
Yeah, it's nothing's forever. You always be
Every
watching.
Kingdom has its day.
Definitely, you always got to be watching. I think that's one thing that I guess the risk with any business is the fact that it's never set in stone. So you've got to be on it all the time. And I think that's one thing for us is that never take the finger off the pulse. Essentially, I'm always looking. That's
sort of what our trip's about. Us going out there, we will see things that we've missed because we haven't been as able to as often be out there in the field. So I can guarantee you in that first 3 to 6 months, we'll be coming back going, hey these are all these things. This is something that I've found.
Yeah.
I do it all the time, like hoses, all sorts of things. There's people making really cool stuff all the time.
There's heaps of cool products out at the moment.
And I'm happy to promote them, and we do. And people will ring me and go, thanks for promoting that, because now I've sold a bunch of that stuff. It just sometimes, there's nothing wrong with us giving others a leg up, and obviously we get targeted a lot with our branding. Like we've now become a bit of a premium brand, so other people try and leverage off of us. We're cool with that, but only if we feel like they're premium.
Yeah,
we actually don't care your size.
Yeah.
But if you're not selling premium and then you're trying to latch onto us, that's where you'll probably see me shut that down.
Yeah.
So we're selective with that.
Yeah, cool.
Never want to be arrogant,
of course,
but just want to protect our brand.
Yeah, it makes total sense. That's definitely the way that we've done it. I think that it takes time to get to that stage as well.
Totally.
And it's definitely where you guys have been. I think obviously where Zone has started from and the challenges along the way, but in the last 3 years of where you've got Zone today, I think that's definitely hats off to you. You've done an amazing job to get there. And I think it, like you said before, it's about creating that team and that culture and everything else. And I love all that sort of stuff. That, definitely is a hard task to do.
100%.
And I think it's, you've done extremely well. So well done.
No, I appreciate that. It's like yourselves, but we take our hat offs to other businesses, especially on the coast. We're pretty passionate about, Dave can sometimes be the Coolum cowboy. No, because this is his hometown. So I think it's really nice. He's passionate as well, looking around and going, there's other really good business at the coast here. Dave does a lot of work with the council on that. So that's been really cool, even for me, who didn't grow up on the sunny coast, to go, wow, there is quite a lot of stuff, cool stuff that comes out of the coast.
Yeah, it is surprising. Even when I look at Queensland in general, when you look at the full drive caravanning industry, and just in Queensland alone, even the southeast Queensland, just in this sort of area, there's a lot of businesses that are here that fuel this industry.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, because when you start looking at a lot of cars that we have traffic through, Queensland seems to be the hotspot that everyone will come to at some point, especially if we've got things like Cape and Fraser and, all these other amazing places that we find a lot of people come through. So
I think it's out of necessity too. Like I often think of Brad's story. So Brad, McCarthy from Max Tracks. We grew up the same place, like Bundy and stuff like that. Known Brad for a long time. Love what he does. He just lives up the road there in Coolum. When he's in Australia, he's travelling quite a lot. But, that was just out of necessity. I think what you guys did with the cars really was out of necessity. Like, we do have these extra loads we're carrying in Australia. We travel like no one else. I've travelled internationally a lot. No one does it like here. And I've been in the US a lot because of my dad living there. It's so different in the US to what we do. So I really think that's what I probably appreciate about Queensland, probably especially in the southeast corner, like you said, there's heaps of people doing stuff that suits us. We're on beaches all the time. So if you're in Victoria, that's so different. Whereas yourself, you go and do a test on a beach with a card, which you thought might have had a lot of power. You're at high tide, you have to run up in the dunes.
There's heaps of things, yeah. And the thing is, also coming back to that is, the vans years ago, yes, we had vans similar sizes, but we didn't carry the weight. We didn't have the battery systems. We didn't have all the water tanks underneath.
No.
It was a lot less. Now, if you look at some of the combos on the road, ridiculous. Like, I've seen some crazy combos come through, and the weight of these cars, vans, everything, like you can't get another thing on them. And I'm sure there's a lot out there that are definitely overweight.
100%.
But it's one of those things that we have to consider as well. When someone books a car in and they're like, hey, yeah, I've just got a 300 and I'm towing my caravan. How big's a caravan? Oh, it's, like 20 foot or something like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's sort of like going, well, okay, how heavy is it? Yeah, I think it's like 3 ton, but really it's like a 5 ton combo.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you're like, okay, this is a completely different scenario. So, we tend to do that. We go through a lot of questions and scenarios with the customers to try and ensure that we're, meeting the demand of what they want. And if you get it wrong, you're going to end up with a scenario where you've got a car that's going to really underperform. And there's been times where we're like, hey, I think you just got the wrong car. Like, I can't help you here.
No, that's
you
right.
need to upgrade this car.
Yep.
Like, this is not going to work.
We're pretty good at like saying no. So we have a bit of a saying. 8 out of 10 people are our people. 2 out of 10 you should actually say go buy something else.
Mm-hmm.
If they want full customization, there's no point coming to Zone RV. We don't do it. If you want something that's 5 ton or whatever, that's not us. We're a lightweight caravan company. We don't ever want to see it being crazy, like we're not those sorts of people. We're trying to do things more efficiently, better. We want better towing performance. I love the fact the cooling, all that leads to those efficiencies. Our vans are very similar. We're building we don't have all this weird ass wiring and stuff. It's all automotive. We're doing it like that. We build modules.
Yeah, I love that idea of the modular building. Like, it's amazing to see.
Yeah,
that's, I think, as a kid, seeing workshops and sort of systems laid out in line and how things get built. Like, definitely remember as a kid watching car shows where they manufacture cars. Like, I love that stuff. I could watch that for hours. It's most people think it's boring, but it's
my best advice to any business owner, and that is that while you're still small, that's when do that digital modification. Become more digital, get yourself the really good analysis of where your business at and systems, because the earlier you can change it, the cheaper it is.
And easier.
It was far more expensive for us to do it the way we did it because we're already so far down the rabbit hole. But now where we are, it would be so easy for us to change systems, say, in 2 years' time. And we've deliberately didn't go and get the greatest system in the world, because if I had of, how many people do you think in our organisation was actually a digital person?
Yeah, so able to cope with it. Yeah, it wasn't going to work.
You would have smoked everyone. So I'm not a believer of that either. Like, we can't just fry everyone and stab everyone and get these people in. You've got to bring people on the journey. And so to our best, we've been able to do that.
Yeah,
that's actually how you develop a community. And a community development officer always comes in, looks for the gaps, talks to the community, definitely. But if the community knew how to change it, they already would have done it.
Yeah.
And so I'll keep going back to that. If people knew what was right, it's already happening. And like I say, humans are pretty good at adapting and changing, but there is quite a big number of people that will just keep doing the same old. And I'm sure in your industry you see that all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Who carries on through that? Obviously, traveling through Australia, you've got a lot of spots that you'll have marked out on your map where you're going. I know there's some things happening with, national parks, enclosures and stuff like that. Do you think that's a big problem for Australians that are traveling, wanting to try and experience these places and this stuff sort of going on? I mean, I understand why they would have this, but is this something that you have to plan around, you find, or?
Yeah, I think planning's the best. So I just caught up with Rob from HEMA. So HEMA family were the people who've really mapped pretty much all of Australia.
Yep.
Best thing about mapping is it's a safety mechanism. You can go out there. They'll show you every track, what permits you need.
Yep.
I've just sat down with him for about 3.5 hours and we've just planned out our whole trip, and he's given me options where I can and can't go, obviously.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There is not many places you can't go. I sort of find that funny where people keep bringing up these track closures and stuff. Some of those tracks we shouldn't have been going anyway.
Yes.
Some of these closures I think people are a bit over the top with. Like, my experience in all of my touring, I've probably done 60 or 80,000 Ks and God knows how much in forward drives, but I'm talking just purely towing. I've never turned around. I've never had a thing where I've gone, geez, I can't go through there.
Yeah.
So obviously I've been through Starkey track and things like that. I had an accident in that country. I wasn't allowed to camp on that part of the places where I drove through, but you could drive through there. There's access. My son and I rolled a trailer there. So we were testing a new trailer. Single axle, just going slowly down a hill, turning sharp, thing fell over, 9:30 at night, me and my 8-year-old, like shit. Luckily, again, I had a chainsaw. Luckily, I had a winch on the front of my truck.
Yeah, managed to.
Luckily, I'm off the land and I knew a little bit what I was doing, but it was Indigenous land where you're not supposed to camp. I took that serious enough. I thought, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to get my trailer out of here tonight and we'll go up the road. Now, I bumped into a couple of local Indigenous people. Mate, they wouldn't have cared less if I'd camped there, but I made sure that I didn't. And what was really cool about it was having that experience. I think it took us 4.5 hours. When we got the trailer back up, when we unhooked it again, it fell over again. Like, I was just in this really big hole and I was like, just leave it, burn it. My son's just going, screw it, Dad, let it go. But I'm just one of those people. I said, I don't care what it takes, dude. I'm going to teach you something here tonight. We're getting this mother trucker out of here.
Yep.
And we did. And we got out to where it was non-Indigenous land and we camped. And we got there maybe 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
So my experience is there's not many places. There is like green zones, there's Indigenous country where it's for them to use. Because I've worked in Indigenous communities.
So you would know more, yeah. I guess there's a lot of land everywhere as well. So what they're talking about is such a small portion.
I know, and I think organisations get hung. This is like clickbait stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think there's, if you travel Australia, and I'm about to do it to a bigger degree and hopefully for the next few years, I actually don't think, that's one of the things I want to do is get out there and go, if you've got a HEMA map, if you've got these products, if you take the right stuff, it's really safe. Because what we're doing in a lot of ways is turning people off of doing this stuff.
Yeah.
My whole vision for doing what I'm going to do is show people, we'll take people on these trips too. And hey guys, this is actually really safe. This is actually really fun. It's not actually that hard. Yes, you got to be organised, but anything is. My son's about to go to the US and go to some really, he wants to go to Vegas and stuff like that. Mate, they're dangerous places. I've been there to a lot of those countries where you'll get ripped off and all this stuff. So.
Yeah, well, you're in an amazing place, and I think I haven't done much traveling. I've spent me and my wife have been pretty much since we got married when we were quite young, been in the business, and we've been working hard ever since. So we haven't done much traveling, but I have had a lot of friends that travel overseas, and they all tell me that coming home is the best spot.
Absolutely,
definitely
kiss the ground.
It's just the fact that I think the security and what we have to offer, and we've got so much land between us, and we really are not jumping on each other, and I think you have to be quite grateful for that. The fact that also in our country, what I find that I don't tend to see, so we do a lot of tuning for a lot of other vehicles overseas, and they don't have the touring. They have full driving. Yeah. They don't have the touring where they pop up a van and they're traveling the countryside and camping and stuff like that. And I think that's something that's really unique to Australia that we have, and no one really else sort of does too much.
South Africa is probably the only other place that's sort of semi-close to it, but obviously very different. So South Africa, it'd be more dangerous, not even just because of the animals, obviously.
Of course.
Whereas Australia, it's pretty safe anywhere. All my travels, I'm terrible. I don't lock things like you should. I've grown up in the bush where, the house is unlocked, the keys are in the car.
Yep.
So if anyone's listening, don't take any of that, do those things. But I've never had my stuff knocked off. But again, I'm that community person. Generally, in most places, people look out for each other. Yep. Caravan parks, I don't do a lot of that. But if you are, mate, everyone's there to help. And like I say, when I rolled my trailer, I did it at night. But wherever I've had issues, and again, I'll say this on this channel, I even think channels for YouTube, I think channels for Facebook, mate, people help each other. When I rolled that trailer, I had 3 people offer me their own trailer to continue my trip with my son. I had a guy who ended up putting me up in his house, helped rebuild a bit of my trailer so I could get it home. I didn't know the guy from bar of soap.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And that was just purely community that I developed on that page.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's my vision with what we're going to do with the zone thing. It's just we're going to map all those trips. We're going to work with HEMA. We'll have where it's good to pull up, where it's safe, what we did, where we think you could go. We're happy for other people's feedback.
You're making me excited. I'm not a caravan person, hey. Honestly, we tried it probably a year or so ago, and I guess we didn't do off the beaten track. We did a lot of caravan parks and stuff like that. And to be honest, that sort of stuff didn't gel with me. I didn't like it. And so to experience again, I think off the beaten track, I definitely enjoy that.
Well, you work with people, I work with people. You want to get away from people. Yep. And even as a community development worker, you still need your downtime. So my wife's introverted, so she's going to struggle with people. So she can stay in the van, let me go loose. I'll walk the streets of wherever we are and I'll go and meet whoever because I'm just that guy.
Yeah.
I've still got a mate that I met in Cape York and it was one night around a campfire. It's the only time we've ever talked to each other face to face. We still communicate. That was in 2014.
Yeah.
I just walked across to the next guy's camp. Hey, you going, mate? Where you from? He said, I'm from Victoria. This is my name. This is what I do. I'm a carpenter. Next time you're down in Victoria, drop in, mate. That's the cool stuff about if you're open enough to talk to people. Not everyone's like that, but that's me. I love people, and I think I've learnt way more from people. I probably don't give enough out myself, but that's where I think there's beauty in that.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't tell you earlier, but in my story, I grew up 100 metres away from a pub, a country club. So I'm off the land, but across the road from me was a place called the LOA Country Club. That's where I learnt community. So it's a funny story. My family was salvos and stuff, so obviously they weren't too passionate about me hanging out at a pub. But I used to just go over there every day. Everyone from my community used to go there, obviously, have a drink, chat. But what the deeper thing I learnt after a little while was, Matt's in trouble. Let's pass the hat round. He needs help. Jimmy Bob over here lost someone. Hey, we should do that for him. Let's go help work his farm next weekend. Hey, those guys, the kids have got no clothing. Let's do. So I'm just seeing community happening at this pub. I obviously learned a lot of wit too, a lot of funny jokes, a lot of funny stories, probably a lot of stuff you shouldn't have learned at that age, but it was really good for me to learn community and then learn how even people that were coming to probably escape, obviously having a few beers, and I saw people have a lot of and do eucalyptus pinstriping, I call it, in those days, drive home, having a few sherbets. I really saw the difference of what that made of people being a community, caring for each other, of all places, a pub, but it did teach me that. And we still see that at Zone. We've had people in our organisation who have lost loved ones, had things happen. Everyone chips in and helps each other.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we try and have that saying, everyone matters. Everyone here is important. No one's more important than others. And my story is, hey, some bloke who just walked in here, left school at 14, is now like CEO. Anyone can do this. But you've got to want to do it, and you got to have that passion and the drive to do it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So that's what I'm trying to do. And part of me traveling and even showing now, my legacy will be, I didn't just stay in one position and keep everyone under me. I've got it to this level. I want it to go to the next level. I want to move sideways in a way, because now I have a CFO, a COO, a CEO and a CBO. So, what an organisation that we can have, that I've now hit this position of Chief Brand Officer that gets to travel, uses the product. I'm launching new organisations for us. So we've never had dealers before. Now we've got these couple of people. I've got one in Sydney. And the way I did that was I woke up one Saturday morning. I said to my missus, I watched this guy on YouTube the other night. He runs his little open weekends. I'm just going to fly down incognito and go and have the experience. He didn't know who I was. I went down there, pretended I was buying a caravan off him, went through the whole process, and I thought, these are really genuine people. I went back in 2 hours later and said, hey, mate, I'm a CEO from Zone RV. I'd like to work with you guys. He was sort of like, just about fell off a cliff. He's like, shit, I didn't realise you'd be doing that. Mate, this is what we could do with you. This is how it would look. It's not going to be traditional, but would you be interested? He sold over 100 caravans. Last weekend, I've just flown back from Melbourne. I'm actually doing something I'm sure not many people do, and this is having enough confidence in your product, is I'm actually using another manufacturer to sell our vans in Victoria.
Yeah.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
And even for them, how humble. Now, they were refugees.
Yeah.
What a story that this family, there's 4 of them, were refugees. Now they're selling our product, the premium caravan. So they're humble, nearly crying, going, I cannot believe that you've chosen us. Why did you choose us? I said, because when I came down and had a look around, everyone else was bagging everyone else. You guys never did that.
Yep,
and you
100%.
were really transparent, and you were very humble and honourable. And they're the 2 values that I hold pretty high. That's 100%. Why you sell our vans.
Yep.
So they just went down the weekend and sold 10 or 11 vans first weekend. It's so cool. Yeah. I mean, it was I drove away just going, how good's life that I've just seen that happen. And now we're selling into Victoria. We used to sell up to like $20 million worth of product without being there. Now, a lot of organisations would go, well, why the hell are you going there? You might as well, because we're actually doing it with 2 salespeople. We sell all our product in Australia with 2 people. There wouldn't be any other caravan company that could do that, but that's because it's all digital. But I just said to them, I want our customers to touch and feel. Because our saying is, I want everybody to have a summit experience. Now I get hammered all the time for that. Imagine if you make that statement, people are coming at you. But I'm good for it. But I know we're not quite there. But that's my passion. Let's give the summit experience. So that's what we're trying to do. So
okay, yeah, cool. All right, well, something a little bit more personal.
Yep.
I've got about cars. What's your favourite car? Obviously, growing up on farms, must have been Toyotas everywhere, surely.
Yep. Yeah, so my favourite car would probably be a 79.
Yep.
So I always grew up as a little kid wanting a 79 series. My dad had a HJ47. So when I was probably 25, I think I bought my own, paid for it myself. What was mine? 75 series?
Yep.
Yeah, I loved it. Have had dual cabs. But 79 is my favourite. Toyotas I love because I just love the not the simplicity. I realise that they don't have all the bells and whistles, but I just love the fact they just keep rolling. And that, like my brother and I did a trip in that HJ47 to Carumba, to Darwin when we were young fellas. I didn't even have a licence, and hand throttle driving, in the outback. We had 344s of diesel behind us. It was quite hilarious. No idea what we were doing, but a lot of fun. We went, and he taught me a lot. I've got a half brother who's Daryl's 9 years older than me, so he just showed me how fun that was to have that adventure.
Yeah, cool.
And we had a ball, and that car meant a lot to me for a long time. We don't have it anymore, but that's why I think the cruiser.
Yeah, cool.
I can remember locking the keys in it 3 ways, in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
Like it had the little,
the flaps.
flap to break into.
Yeah, that's cool.
So they're my favourite cars.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, give me a list. All right, so we're going to end on. So we've done this once before. It's just a bit of a rapid fire the boys put together. Right. So there's 17 questions, and you just got to pick one.
Okay.
Right. So we'll start this off. So, all right. So beach or bush?
Bush.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Diesel or petrol?
Diesel.
Nissan or Toyota?
Toyota.
Goes without saying. Mountains or desert?
Desert.
Tray or canopy?
Tray.
Camping or glamping?
Camping.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Cape York or Tasmania?
Cape York, definitely.
Ute or SUV?
Ute.
On-road or off-road?
Off-road.
Induction or gas?
Induction.
I see a lot of people now. Induction seems to be the go, isn't it? Like I was trying to cook on a gas cooker when I was camping, and the flame kept going out. I couldn't get my pan hot enough, and I was like, "This is doing my head in."
Mate, induction. I've been using induction for years. It just kills me when people try and tell me how great they are with gas. It just. I remember I'll just go back. New Year's Eve one day, I said, "Everyone, I'll cook this thing." It was about 1 a.m. when I finally finished because the wind was blowing its head off.
Yeah.
Or if you go on the high country or that.
You can't cook steak properly.
You can't beat induction.
Yep. 100%. All right. National parks or private campsites?
Private campsites.
Weekender or touring?
Touring.
Solo travel or group travel?
Group travel.
Tent or caravan?
Caravan, obviously.
Fishing or hiking?
Probably hiking.
All right, cool, mate. Well, that's done, mate. I really appreciate it coming on here.
Welcome.
You've had an amazing story. Obviously, everything that you've told us, very grateful that you've managed to give that information to us. And I wish you all the best and safe travels.
I appreciate that.
We'll look forward to hearing about it when you come back.
Yeah, and I'll just say again, like we're going to partner up with you guys. Yep. I really appreciate that from your side of things. We've followed you guys as fans for a fair while. Just myself all through the years, and a couple of our cars have got your stickers on them, which is funny. But I just think like it's great, mate. You're doing something that helps our industry. We do 14 caravans a week.
Yep.
I'd say 6 to 8 of those have always got like your sticker or someone's going to your organisation to get that upgrade. So it's really cool because I haven't had anyone come back and say they're disappointed. I haven't had anyone come back and say, oh, geez, I wish this thing would run better. My 300, I got one of the first ones, and it's frustrated me that they're all driving away with powerful machines. I took Brad McCarthy's for a run the other day with your setup. Just made mine feel like it was like a Toyota just useless, really.
No,
so much better. So
I'm looking forward to doing
mate.
the other truck so you can experience it.
You cannot believe how much we're looking forward to that. It'll be fantastic. Cool. But thanks for that. Thanks for inviting me today. I appreciate it.
No, all good, mate. Cheers. Thank you.
No worries.
Well, what an awesome story that was with Adrian. I definitely enjoyed it. I hope you did. I think it was really interesting to see his huge passion for community and how he brought that into business today. So if you have any questions or anything at all, please leave in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned.